under the golden glow of a crisp autumn sunset. The rotting gates of a vast countryside estate stood like ancient guardians, shielding a realm of quiet luxury from the outside world. But on this fateful day, the man lingering by those gates bore no resemblance to the tycoon he truly was. His worn gray overalls sagged on his sturdy build, a faded baseball cap shaded his sharp eyes, and his calloused hands rested on the gate's latch as if it were his sole anchor in a stormy sea. To any passerby on the winding rural road, he was just an ordinary groundskeeper, putting in long hours for a modest paycheck. No one would suspect that beneath those sun-weathered features lay a self-made magnate who commanded empires across continents, a man whose life had been a tapestry of triumphs and quiet sorrows. This was Edward Harlan, a name whispered in boardrooms from New York to Toronto, and today, his purpose wasn't about safeguarding his property, was about shielding his only son's heart from a potential lifetime of regret. Imagine discovering that the person you love harbors a hidden cruelty, revealed not in grand betrayals, but in the smallest acts of indifference. That's the hook that pulls you into Edward's world, a world where true character isn't measured by designer labels or social status, but by how we treat those who seem to offer us nothing in return. Edward's scheme had been brewing for months, born from the scars of his own past and the hard lessons he'd learned watching friends' lives unravel in mismatched unions. His son, James, was head over heels for a captivating young woman named Claire, whose radiant smile could charm a crowded gala and whose grace turned heads wherever she went. But Edward wondered, was that a lure, skin deep, or did it run to the core of who she was? He'd seen too many relationships crumble under the weight of entitlement and hidden resentments. So, he devised a simple, yet profound trial. For one full week, he'd pose as the estate's humble groundskeeper, tending the lawns and hedges that framed the sprawling mansion. Claire, poised to become part of the family, would cross his path daily. Only his loyal estate manager knew the truth. To everyone else, including Claire, Edward would be invisible, a background figure in the landscape of her privileged visits. The first morning dawned with a chill in the air, the kind that hints at winter's approach in the rolling hills of upstate New York. Claire arrived in a sleek luxury sedan, her pearl earrings glinting as she emerged, a subtle aura of sophistication enveloping her like a fine mist. Edward, rake in hand, offered a courteous wave from the garden bed, but her gaze swept past him without pause, fixed on her smartphone screen as she strode toward the house. He didn't expect fanfare, just a nod of acknowledgement, a basic human courtesy, but as the days unfolded, it became painfully evident that he didn't register in her world at all. He trimmed the rose bushes while she lounged by the pool, swept fallen leaves as she hosted afternoon teas with friends, and even held open the garden gate during a light drizzliette. Not once did she spare a glance, a thank you, or even a fleeting smile. Edward's resolve hardened, but his heart ached with each passing hour. He recalled his late wife, Margaret, whose wisdom had guided him through life's tempests. Darling, you glimpsed someone's essence in how they handled the overlooked souls around them. The waitstaff, the delivery drivers, the strangers on the street. Her words echoed now, a gentle reminder amid his growing doubt. Then came the incident that shattered any lingering hope. A moment so raw it replayed in Edward's mind like a haunting melody. It was midweek, the sun dipping low over the estate's manicured lawns, casting long shadows that mirrored the turmoil in his soul. Claire pulled up earlier than usual, her emerald blouse vibrant against the fading light, her expression pinched with frustration, perhaps from a trivial setback in her bustling social calendar. Edward, pausing from weeding a flower bed, straightened up to greet her with a polite tip of his cap. She halted abruptly before him, clutching a half-empty coffee cup, its contents steaming and dark. Without a word, a sly grin twisted her lips, one that held no warmth, only a spark of mischief laced with disdain. In a swift motion, she appended the cup over his head. The hot liquid cascaded down, soaking his cap, stinging his scalp, and seeping into his collar with a bitter chill that matched the shock in his veins. Laughter bubbled from her throat, sharp and echoing across the quiet grounds, as if she'd just pulled off a harmless prank. She sauntered away without a backward glance, leaving Edward standing there, drenched and diminished. The acrid scent of spilled coffee mingling with the earthy aroma of the soil. Humiliation burned hotter than the brew itself. Not for his pride. Wood had built his fortune from humble beginnings, and knew the sting of setbacks, but for the revelation it unveiled. This wasn't mere oversight. It was deliberate cruelty, a glimpse into a soul that found amusement in belittling the powerless. In the days that followed, Edward observed from afar, his disguise intact but his spirit bruised. He waited for remorse, a quiet apology, perhaps a gesture of amends. None came. Instead, Claire's demeanor grew more aloof, her instructions to the staff clipped and demanding, as if the estate were already hers to command. Edward's nights were sleepless, torn between his love for James and the dread of watching his son bind himself to someone who valued appearances over empathy. He thought of his own journey, from a small-town boy in rural Ontario, scraping by on odd jobs, to a visionary entrepreneur whose companies spanned tech innovations and real estate across North America. Wealth had brought him everything except immunity from heartache. The week culminated in a revelation that demanded action. Edward discarded the soiled overalls, donning a crisp charcoal suit that spoke of authority and resolve. He called James and Claire to the estate's elegant library, where floor-to-ceiling bookshelves held volumes of history and philosophy, and a roaring fireplace cast a warm, flickering light that belied the tension in the air. James arrived, puzzled, his easygoing nature evident in his casual smile, oblivious to the storm brewing. Claire followed, her confidence faltering as Edward entered, not the stooped groundskeeper she'd dismissed, but a commanding figure whose presence filled the room, with a voice steady as steel. Edward recounted his vigil, the week of anonymity, the daily invisibility, and the pivotal afternoon when kindness could have bridged the gap, but cruelty widened it instead. Claire's composure cracked, her eyes darting between father and son, words tumbling out in a rush, claims of it being a joke, a momentary lapse amid stress, but excuses rang hollow against the weight of evidence. James's face paled, his hand slipping from hers as understanding dawned, a mix of betrayal and sorrow etching lines on his youthful features. The room fell into a profound silence, broken only by the crackle of the fire, as if the very house mourned the illusion's collapse. Edward didn't lash out or seek vengeance. His words were measured, laced with the quiet wisdom of experience. True partnership, he said softly, isn't built on glamour or gain. It's rooted in mutual respect, especially for those who can't repay it. Without that, it's merely a fragile facade, destined to crumble. The engagement dissolved, not in fury, but in the somber acceptance of an incompatible truth. James's initial devastation was palpably a raw grief that kept him withdrawn for weeks, questioning love and trust. Yet time, that gentle healer, wove its magic. Months later, under the blooming cherry blossoms of spring, James crossed paths with a woman named Lily at a community charity event in Vancouver. Her warmth wasn't performative. It radiated genuinely, drawing people in with effortless kindness. On their first visit to the estate together, Lily paused by the actual groundskeeper, longtime employee named Tom, extending her hand with a sincere thank you for his dedication to keeping the gardens so vibrant. Edward, watching from the terrace, felt a profound relief wash over him, the echoes of past pain fading like morning mist. As evening fell, their shared laughter drifted through the open windows, a symphony of hope renewed. This tale isn't just about one man's clever ruse or a romance. Derailed, it's a profound reflection on the essence of humanity in our fast-paced, status-driven lives. In the bustling cities of Chicago or Calgary, amid the daily grind of commutes and careers, we all encounter opportunities to reveal our true selves. Will you be the one who ignores the barista juggling orders, or the colleague who offers a word of encouragement to the overlooked intern? Edward's experience reminds us that genuine connections thrive on compassion, not convenience. It's in those unscripted moments, helping a stranger with directions, sharing a smile with a weary server, or simply acknowledging someone's effort, our character shines brightest. Let this story linger in your thoughts. Kindness isn't a luxury. It's the cornerstone of meaningful relationships and a fulfilling life. In a world that often prioritizes the superficial, choose to see beyond the surface. Embrace empathy, extend respect, and protect your heart by surrounding yourself with those who do the same. After all, the richest lives aren't measured in bank accounts, but in the depth of the bonds we forge.